What does harvesting mean? What activity is taking place? Huh? Collecting the food that is what? Grown. Yeah, over the seasons. So, in other words, somebody took the time to prepare the earth, to plant some seeds, and then to nurture those seeds so something could grow, right? How many of you know who the first farmers were on this planet? They were Africans, yes they were, but they were particular Africans. They were women. African women were the first farmers on this planet. It was the women who taught the men how to prepare the land for the planting of the seeds. Prior to the domestication of grain, we were hunters and gatherers. In other words, we were going after food. We were moving with the food. We were either following the animals, or we were looking at the trees and following after we ate everything on these particular trees and we went to the next group of trees, wherever. We were hunters and gatherers. But it was the women who showed the men how to prepare the land for the planting of seeds and how to nurture those seeds so that we would have a stable food source. Then we had the leisure time to develop astronomy, architecture, mathematics, philosophy. All these other sciences come in, because before then, if the first thing you got to do and the last thing you got to do is figure out what you're going to eat, that's going to take up a lot of time.
Yes, sir.
But once you have a stable food source, then you have more time to think and to plan. No matter how hard we work to prepare the land, no matter how many seeds we plant, no matter how hard we work to nurture those seeds, no matter how long we chase down those animals, no matter how far we're willing to walk to pick some fruit off a tree, nothing's guaranteed to be there when we get there. Nothing's guaranteed for us to catch. Nothing's guaranteed to grow when we do it. So when it does happen, what was the first thing that our ancestors did consistently? They gave thanks. Because they knew that whatever they did, whatever they got, was a part of a process that was bigger than us. And so they took water and poured it into the land. But we didn't make the water. So this is a ritual. It's a symbolic giving back. That's what libation is. It's a symbolic giving back and a recognition of those who came before who helped us learn what we know. It's also an acknowledgement of the fact, you know, that there are those who have the audacity to attempt to refute the existence of a creator. But nobody can refute the existence of their ancestors. Because if you ain't got ancestors, you ain't here. And for us, just on a historical side, I always have to clarify, because a lot of times one of the distortions that we're being taught is that in Africa we practice polytheism, which means like to believe in many gods. That's a lie. Notice I did not say myth. That's a lie. A myth is a figurative explanation of natural phenomena. It's not meant to be taken literal. It's a story, but it's there to teach a lesson. A lie is a distorted information, a deliberate distortion most of the time. We do not believe in many gods. But for us, the Creator is everywhere and in everything. In other words, in this metal here, if the Creator ain't in it, it ain't here. Do you understand what I'm saying? If the Creator ain't in this piece of metal, if the Creator ain't in this wood, it ain't here. That's how we roll as Africans. God is everywhere and in everything. In fact, I prefer to use the word creator, because God is a German word that really doesn't describe what we're saying. We're talking about creation. We're talking about the Creator. And for us, the Creator is not just a being, but is being. Is in the act of being. Always. it's important to acknowledge our part in that process. And we acknowledge our ancestors. Because like I said, if we ain't got ancestors, we ain't here. So we take this minute to pour libation to acknowledge them and to understand that without them, we'd have to do everything from the beginning. From the beginning. If every generation had to reinvent the wheel, we wouldn't even have cars. We wouldn't have bicycles. So if we didn't have bicycles, we didn't have cars or trucks or planes. All that comes out of the wheel. So our ancestors have provided the foundation for the world. Our ancestors. If anybody was a chosen people, it is us, because we're the first human beings on this planet. Black people. And for the majority of the time that human beings have been on this planet, only black people were here. The range of color that we see in this room is a relatively new phenomenon. I mean, we're talking about blue black people. That was us. That was us. And it's only because of thousands and thousands of years of geographical separation, climate change, and dietary changes that we have the range of color that we see on the planet today. Why is that important? Because if we understand that, then nobody can claim to be better than or accept being less than somebody else based on the color of their skin. Racism is an artificial mentality. We're still fighting with the fact that a lot of our children think, and a lot of us think, that slaves were brought from Africa. What no slaves brought from Africa. African people were kidnapped and enslaved. That's a major distinction. African people were kidnapped. In other words, it was a criminal activity that brought us over here. We need to be clear about that. And in Africa, we didn't have any economic systems based on the selling and the buying of other human beings. That's not an African historical fact. We didn't do that. So the question becomes, well, what were we before then? We were farmers and fishermen and hunters and healers and musicians and mathematicians and architects and astronomers, scientists, saints and sinners, teachers and thieves. The whole range of the human experience is going on according to the various paradigms that we built. Why is this important? Because you need to know why libation and reclamation of our traditional cultural practices are important. Because we wouldn't be where we are now, wouldn't have half of what we got if we were the empty-headed people that they say that we are. We weren't brought over here empty-headed. In fact, we were here before Columbus. And if you got time, or if you don't have time, make time, get a book called The First Americans Were Africans. It was written by a brother named David Imhotep. When the so-called Indians got here, our ancestors were already here. Black people were already here. And we got evidence of that. So this, when I do libation, is not something I'm just making up. Kwanzaa is not just made up. It's based on rituals and practices that we have been doing for thousands and thousands of years, giving thanks to the Most High for our life and for the materials that we have to enhance our life. We've been doing this a long time. And the more we know about ourselves, the better we can do it, and the better we can prepare our children so that they can prepare our children's grandchildren, their grandchildren, our grandchildren's grandchildren, so they can prepare them. We're not just thinking about us and today. We're thinking about 7, 12 generations from now. Because what we're doing now will affect them. So when I say ayeh, it means as I give, I want it back. This is dealing with the law of reciprocity. You got to give something in order to get something. What the song used to say, nothing from nothing leaves.
Nothing.
You got to have something if you want something from me. All right? So when I say ayeh, the community replies, yo, ayeh,
yo,
ayeh,
yo.
And I'm going to translate what I'm saying. The traditional language that I'm speaking is Wade. It's a ritual language spoken in Casamance, which is the southern part of Senegal, which now is commonly known as Senegal. But if you look at the old maps, the name of that area was called Sunugal. And when the people were asked, what do you call your country? They said Sunugal, our ship. Sunu, our, gal, ship. This is our boat. Why? Because they were primarily fishermen. That was an integral part of their economy. So they called the country their boat, their ship. Sunugal. So Casamas is the southern region. So this language comes out of that particular part of Africa. Aya Jay.
Yo.
Aya Jay.
Yo.
All praises be to the one most high. We could do no less. You, my ancestors, gave birth to me. Ibako, I am yours. Ibataku, I believe in you. Ndelaku, I respect you. Imataku, I accept you. Ikanibaku, I trust you. Dre etekabe, see and protect. Samiki ki, if I am right to speak. Sakote ki, if not speak. Reda miku krita kujomo, show me your good road. It's a frikami and fankumu farasadi, and help me avoid your obstacles. In other words, we know that our ancestors were not perfect, but we want to even learn from their mistakes. What the proverb says, a wise person can even learn from a fool, but a smart one sometimes find it hard to learn from anybody because they think they know it. They think they know it all. Sometimes you look at a fool, you learn, you say, oh, I'm not going to do that. That means you're learning from that person. It's a frikami and fankumu farasatni, and help me avoid your obstacles. Hey, Jerry Dumayi, watch what happens here. Bakai kusutani ejini jewani pujamo. Send your blessings and good intentions. The same creator who made you, made me. We are one and always will be. At this time, we take a moment to acknowledge some of those ancestors, but we start with the special ones, the sheroes, the heroes, those who went beyond the everyday stuff. They did things that were extraordinary. And some of them, we use their names, on a regular basis. Like when we talk about Harriet Tubman, she was one of those. She was one of those, and we said we're one and always will be. But a lot of people, we miss one of the most important things that Harriet Tubman told us. At one point after the Civil War, somebody said, oh, Harriet, we want to give you an award and acknowledge all those people that you helped free from enslavement. And her reply was, she would have freed a whole lot more if only they had known that they were enslaved. Do you know that it was Harriet Tubman that wrote the song Steal Away to Jesus? She wrote that song. And that was a song that she used when she was going near the plantations. And when she started singing Steal Away, she was letting people know it's time to leave up out of here. But Jesus was not just a being that had been there some thousands of years ago. At that point, she was using Jesus as an allegory, as a metaphor for freedom. We're stealing away to freedom. We're leaving this place, and we're going where we can be free. She also led warriors during the Civil War. She led folks into battle. So please name some of the heroes or the sheroes that you can think of now, those who did extraordinary things that we, know that we have to acknowledge, that helped us get to this place and space. Call some of their names.
Martin Luther King.
Jabai Munja Wosuliba.
Benjamin Banneker.
Jabai Munja Wosuliba.
Maya Angelou.
Jabai Munja Wosuliba.
Marcus Garvey.
Jabai Munja Wosuliba.
Frederick Douglass.
Jabai Munja Wosuliba. Jabai Munja Wosuliba. John Coltrane. Jabai Munja Wosuliba. 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 Dessalines and Christoph of Haiti. Jabai Munja Wosuliba.
Kwame Ture.
Jabai Munja Wosuliba. Kwame Nkrumah. Jabai Munja Wosuliba. Jabai Munja Wosuliba.